Hello and welcome to episode number 244 of the TEW 2020 Challenge Run. This is going to be SmackDown for week 4 of April. We're still in April, it's now June. Man, I've got, to be fair, 4-day week bank holiday. Should be able to get a couple of bits done over this weekend. Should be able to get Backlash done after this, which is nice. Finally, the first fucking pay-per-view. But yeah, I'm gonna try and get all of May and the start of June done by the end of June, I guess. So yeah, this always happens. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna keep up with real life, and I end up falling behind. But without any further ado, let's jump straight into the show. As has become tradition for SmackDown recently, Seth Rollins opens up open challenge time. He says the last week Apollo Crews, he said some things, a couple of them really hit a little bit close to home to Seth. But also a couple of them were bullshit, and Apollo, he doesn't know why Apollo decided to take it out on him like that, but he's not going to let that deter him from the goal here, which is to be Seth freaking Rollins and provide the greatest matchups possible for the WWE Universe here on SmackDown. That's going to be another open challenge tonight, and then we hear Rick Boogs' guitar shred. He's like, my name's Rick Boogs, and I came to rock with Shinsuke Nakamura. So the meaning of this match is threefold. Shinsuke's going to open up the open challenge, and he's going to wrestle Seth Rollins. A, because, well, it'll be really fucking good, and Nakamura's like one of my top 5 franchise players who doesn't really do a lot. B, it gets him on the show because he's not really doing a lot. And C, I named the segment Nagata-chan, which serves a purpose so I can remind myself, because I booked this in a couple of days ago. Yuji Nagata passed away in the game as I was simming to Friday. And I was like, shit, but like WWE wouldn't really pay a tribute to him, he's not a WWE guy. But I wanted to acknowledge him somehow on the show, so I guess Shinsuke just coming out like in a shirt with his name and stuff on would be enough to get it on the show, and then he proceeds to have what I'm going to call a banger preemptively in the honour of the late great Yuji Nagata. 90, he does indeed. Seth Rollins' streak of blue matches continues. He's like the best wrestler in the world. But he does beat Shinsuke, of course. Curb stomp, 13, 50, 55, 85 for Nakamura, 96 for Seth Rollins. And he's a little bit off it because Apollo sort of got a little bit into his head last week, but he's still Seth freaking Rollins at the end of the day, and he's going to secure that big dub. We then get into Adam Pearce's office. LA Knight's in there. And he's like, Adam Pearce, I've had up to here with these son of a bitches Kevin Owens and Adam Cole on the show. Yeah? Okay, so I've got a proposition for you. Since Adam Cole, you've announced we're getting a United States Championship match at Judgment Day, that leaves Kevin Owens free, and that leaves Kevin Owens free to rub shoulders with the megastar that is LA Knight. Yeah. But how about next week, Adam Pearce? You want a big time mega match on SmackDown? We'll have a tag team match, Kevin Owens and Adam Cole. I want to face both of them in a tag team match next week, yeah? Pearce like, well, can you not do the maths, my brother? Like, that's 2 on 1. He's like, oh no, don't worry. I've got my tag team partner in mind. And then bang, the door gets kicked in, and in walks an angry Braun Breaker, who obviously wants a piece of Adam Cole because he laid him out like 2 weeks ago. And he's like, I guess it is official. Next week, LA Knight continue with the United States Champion Braun Breaker to face Kevin Owens and Adam Cole. And then at Judgment Day, it'll be Kevin Owens one-on-one with LA Knight. And he's like, thank you, Mr. Pearce. I knew you'd get it. Yeah. So yeah, couple of matches made. LA Knight and Kevin Owens for Judgment Day. Cole and Braun, I guess, for Judgment Day officially announced. And then next week, the tag team match. Should be fun. But before that, speaking of tag team matches, Io and Kairi need to cut a promo, because Io is my figure here, I need to put her on the show. Talking about them defending against Charlotte and Danny. She's not Danny in this world, she's just Jordan. Okay. Against Charlotte and Jordan at Backlash this Sunday, and how it should be a banger of a match. Random tag team match here. Mark Andrews and Flash Webster of the House of Black defeat the infamous Error. Mark Andrews pins Bobby Fish with a moonsault. 78 for Andrews, 69 for Webster, 78 for Strong, and a 71 for Fish. Mark Andrews is really, really good at this whole thing. But then after the match, in case you forgot, I do advise watching last week's show before this show. House of Black laid out the Alpha Academy, who sort of had a soft babyface turn, and Gable had a promo after that, and he's now out here. He's like, "Shoosh, everybody, shoosh." It's him, the entire group, Desmond Troy, Otis, Coach Thatcher. He's like, "Ladies and gentlemen, last week we got embarrassed by the House of Black. There's no better way to put it. We pride ourselves on having great acumen. Got a 4.0 GPA. A thank you. But the numbers game was even too much for us to handle." But that's the good thing about the Alpha Academy. It's an academy. You can graduate once you've passed everything, and once you get to the same level of wrestling acumen that I'm at. Or you can take on new members that are hoping to get to that next level. And I don't know where your other boys are at, Andrews, Webster. I know where our other boys are at. They're behind you. And the camera shows that standing behind Mark Andrews and Flash Webster are Julius and Brutus Creed, who drop Andrews and Webster, lay him out with their big finish. And suddenly the backup for Alpha Academy is looking stronger, because got the Creed brothers here. Diamond Mine's not a thing in my world, because Roddy was in the UE, came out as part of the UE, and now he's in the tag team with Fish. So Alpha Academy seemed like the perfect place to put the Creeds. So Alpha Academy is now continuing. It's now nearly a full class. I think they just need like a woman. They haven't got any female representation, but they've got a lot of studs here in this group. And they're now actually outnumbered in terms of male competitors, the House of Black, because Danny Luna is there, but we don't do an agenda stuff here, so we can get a backstage interview with Kevin Owens and Kayla, and she's like, "Welcome, Kevin Owens." And he's like, "Yes, what is it, Kayla? I know, what is it?" Like, I hope you heard the news that next week it's going to be, Judgment Day, it's going to be you going one-on-one with LA Knight. And he's like, "Brilliant, okay. I want to shut that guy up. He interrupted the KO show last week. He claims his show is better than mine. But the KO show has been going on here for, 6 years now? LA Knight show, a couple of months old. How does he have the nerve to come out here on my show, Kayla, and tell me that my show sucks? Like, that's out of line." And she's like, "That's not all, Kevin. It's also that you're going to team with Adam Cole next week to face off against LA Knight and Braun Breaker." And he's like, "Excuse me?" He's like, "Oh, you're going to team with Adam Cole against Braun Breaker?" And he's like, "No, I'm going to team with who? Adam Cole. I can't trust Adam Cole. Adam Cole stabbed his last friends in the back, Killer. Why am I going to team with him? I don't want to team with him." And Cole hears this. He's like, "Why do I want to team with you? You want to talk about me stabbing people in the back? Well, you did the exact same thing. That's your shtick, Kevin. I thought we were friends, but I guess Sammy was right, and Jericho was right, and AJ was right. I do need to stay away from you, Kevin, because I've got a United States Championship match to focus on. I can't have you trying to weasel your way into that." And I was like, "Oh, how dare you?" And then Kayla sort of just like slowly walks away as Cole and Owens just continue arguing as the camera and we cut to commercial. I was, when I set this whole feud up in my head, I thought, oh yeah, Kevin Owens and Adam Cole, friends. But I was like, no, that's a weird dynamic coming off. Both of them have just betrayed their best friends. So I was like, well, let's play off that. Like, they clearly do still want a team together, but they can't trust each other because they've got a history of turning on people. It's fun. At least I think it is. You might think it's shit. 80. This match was announced on Heat. Utami coming to the aid of Shotzi against Mia Yim and Ember Moon. And of course, they win. Utami submits Ember, apparently. 64 for Utami, 70 for Shotzi, 74 for Ember, and a 78 for Mia Yim. But yeah, Utami is currently just like the overarching lawful good presence on SmackDown. She saw an injustice here of outnumbers. She's come to Shotzi's aid, and they've actually got the win here this week. Speaking of the women's division, we then cut to a quick skit. It's like, shows a time. It's like 2:30 a.m. or something. and Bailey's in her bed when the phone rings, and Bailey picks up like, "Hello, what?" Cora's like, "Oh my God, you're right." And Bailey's like, "I mean, I wasn't. It's 2:30 in the morning, Cora. What do you want?" He's like, "Come check your front door." Bailey's like, "What? What do you mean? How did you get my address?" He's like, "Never mind. I haven't got time to explain that, but we need to get you ready for this Women's Championship match at Judgment Day." Bailey's like, "Yeah, I plan to get up and train for it, but you know." She's like, "No, well, now you're up now, so you've got no excuse." And she opens her window, her curtains outside the window, and Cora's just standing at her front door, like waving up, like, "Come on, come down." And Bailey's like, "Ugh." Then we get one of those. I think they did it with Raquel and Cora in real life, like the montage of them training, like really early in the morning. It's just fun, and Cora's got this sort of like weird character at the minute where she's like obsessed with Bailey and would do something like this. 76. Mello gets another dub. He beats John Morrison, a match we set up last week at the hair salon. Carmelo submits Jomo apparently in 8:16. 72 for Carmelo Hayes, 70 for John Morrison. So he beat Dolph Ziggler in his SmackDown debut, and now he's beaten Jomo. Mello's racking up the wins here on the blue brand so far. Then after the match, Trick's like, "You gonna leave him like that, Mello? Nah, Mello, you gotta teach him what it's all about. We're about it. You can't let him get away with just you like that, Mello." And Mello's like, "Okay, Trick, you're right." And he starts to beat up Morrison more. Ziggler makes the save. He goes to drop Mello with a super kick, but he ducks, slides out of the ring. And then Trick, he sort of looks at Trick, and Trick's like, "Whoa, my brother, no. He's here with Mello, not me. Bang, super kick to Trick. He gets super kicked, and Mello's like, "Oh shit," pulls his body out of the ring. And Ziggler helps Jomo up. So I guess enemy of my enemy is my friend? Dolph Ziggler and John Morrison, the two veterans that Carmelo Hayes is trying to walk all over here on SmackDown, aligning to stop the devious new duo. Segment. In case you forgot again, the main event of this week's SmackDown will see Keith Lee take on Jacob Fatu of the Bloodline. And Kayla's trying to get some final words with either Jacob or Roman heading into that match. And she knocks on the Bloodline's locker room door. When the door opens, and Heyman's like, "Can I help you, Kayla?" And then the door opens a little bit wider. He's like, "Oh, sorry." And then Apollo Crews just walks out of the locker room, just sort of looks at Kayla, nods his head, and walks off. And Kayla's like, "What was he doing?" And he's like, "Hey, hello, Kayla. How do you wanna? What have you got for me today?" It's like, what is he doing? It's like, "I want to talk about questions about my tribal chief and about my bloodline." She's like, "Well, how is Jacob Fatu preparing for Keith Lee?" And he's like, "Keith Lee, I was hoping you were going to ask about Keith Lee. You see, Keith Lee is a hell of a competitor. They don't call him Limitless for nothing, Kayla. You know, he can do things in that ring that men half his size can't even do." But Jacob Fatu, he's very similar in size to Keith Lee, and he can do a lot of the things that Keith Lee can do. So if Keith Lee is limitless, Kayla, what does that make Jacob Fatu? Because tonight, you're going to see two heavyweight Goliaths clash. And don't get me wrong, you're going to look at it on paper, you're going to think, what a brawl, what a fight this is going to be. But at the end of the night, you'll be thinking, damn, those two guys can go, Kayla. And this is taking nothing away. Like I said, Keith Lee can go. He's incredible in that ring, but he's not the tribal chief. So if Keith wants to step to the tribal chief, we'll have to see how he can handle the muscle first. Because don't forget, Kayla, only one person on this entire roster has been able to pin the Samoan werewolf, Jacob Fatu, and that was Seth Rollins. And God knows what's going on in his brain right now. So, Keith Lee might be seeing this as a warm-up for a potential Universal WWE Championship encounter with Roman Reigns at Judgment Day, but this is what it's going to really be, Kayla. A test of his true limits. Good day. Shuts the door. This got a 70. I could have sworn I set this to be a DQ. oh, well, we can play around it. So Gargano, I guess, wins. He beats Wacky and Wild with a Hertz Donut in 3:52. 87 for Gargano, 70 for Wild. And yeah. Then he celebrates after the match. Because what a win, Johnny Gargano. But he doesn't actually, because he gets jumped on as soon as the bell rings by Legado de la Sombra, Cruz and Andrade. Candice tries to get in. Obviously Raquel takes care of her on the ringside. And it's just 2-on-1, because obviously Joaquin's down, so it's just 2-on-1. It's just Andrade and Cruz beating up Gargano. Went out from the back. No music or anything. Just wanders out. Ciampa. His first appearance on SmackDown. Ciampa runs out with a crutch. Twats Cruz del Toro. Swings for Andrade, he ducks and he runs away. Zelina retreats as well, gets Raquel to retreat. Raquel to retreat, and Ciampa helps Candice to her feet. And she's looking at him like, no, fuck off, go away. And he looks at Johnny, he looks at Candice. Just nods his head and walks to the back through the crowd. And Candice is sort of glaring at Gargano in the ring. And Johnny's like, I don't know. Dakota's cutting a promo. She's like, well, so let me get this straight, Bayley. Bayley is the one who's at the top of this division that isn't me. She's the one who thinks she's going to step to me at Judgment Day and try and take my SmackDown Women's Championship. Bayley. The same Bayley I beat at WrestleMania last year. The same Bayley I don't think has ever beaten me. She now, all of a sudden, because she's got an annoying little sidekick, thinks that she can beat me for the SmackDown Women's Championship. I'm going to tell you that's not going to happen, girl. I didn't fight all this time to get out of NXT, spent far longer down there than I had any right to, never became the champion down there because I was being disrespected. I finally got that respect, finally earned that respect here on SmackDown. Only to lose it 4 weeks later? I'm not having that. That's not what's going down, Bayley. You're going to see what you'll see, and that's if they can't handle the kick. I'm going to kick your head in. And if you want to bring your annoying little friend with you, just like last week, I'll kick her head in too. See you at Judgment Day. Tag match. Casey and Katana and Caden against Double Trouble. Double Trouble are the ones to pick up the win. Anne-Marie pins Caden. Anne-Marie gets a 45, 36 for Kelsey, 55 for Katana, 42 for Caden. Yeah, just need to get all these on the show because I realise I haven't built up enough lower end women's teams. So I'm going to try to get the new girls and, well, a fresh start for Katana and Caden. But they're new to SmackDown. So, just get them on the show, try and build them up, get them established. Job's a good one. Adam Pearce is going to leave. He's like, the show's over, I can go. When Happy Corbin walks, he's like, Pearce, another week, another no Happy Corbin on SmackDown. Pearce is like, yep, busy show, Corbin, I'm sorry. And he's like, having no Happy Corbin on SmackDown, it's not funny. It doesn't make me happy, Pearce. And he's like, well, okay, like I said, we'll work on it next week. And Corbin's like, no, I don't think you understand what I'm saying to you. I don't like not being happy. Happy's in my name. Because if I'm not happy, God knows what I'm going to do, Pearce. And Pearce is still just looking at him awkwardly like, yep, well, as I said, this show's nearly over, so we'll work on it next week. And Corbin's like, you don't get it, Pearce. Next week, it could be too late. But I'll hear you out. 7 days. And he leaves. And Pearce is like, okay. What a fucking weirdo. Utami is leaving the locker room after her match. She's getting changed and stuff. Getting ready to leave. But she's ambushed by Shatter and Indy. And she's like, you're the new hot women's star here on SmackDown. You're just lurking around like you haven't got any purpose around here. And then you had the nerve to be in my Fatal 4-Way last week, taking me out, costing me the right to be the SmackDown Women's Champion. Some flash in the pan. living her 15 minutes of fame. I don't think so, girl. Let that be a lesson to you, taught by the boss. 77. Apparently there was a lack of psychology. That sucks. But in the interest of avoiding, typical WWE-ism, where the undefeated monster loses his first match and then all of a sudden starts losing every single week, Jacob Fatu actually beats Keith Lee. He beats him in 13 minutes because of a Roman Reigns distraction. 88 for Keith, 80 for Jacob, and a big main event win for Jacob Fatu here to close out the night. But then after the match, it's not over yet. Roman's going to order the announce table to be cleared, and they're going to powerbomb Keith Lee through the announce table. It's like, that's what you get when you mess with the tribal chief. You come to my house, my bloodline, thinking you could take it to me, taking my WWE Championship. Let that be a lesson to you, Keith. Fall in line like they all do. And Roman holds the belt over Keith Lee's down body to end the show. 87 rated show, somehow, despite the bad main event. Okay, I'll take it, but it's fine. And now we pause to go to, I believe, Group E and F of the Cruiserweight World Cup. So we kick off Group E in the Cruiserweight World Cup with Roderick Strong taking on Dominic Mysterio. And Roddy beats Dominic, 13:53 sidekick, gets a 75, 76 for Roddy, 62 for Dom. And yeah, nice opening match to Group E. And then Group E continues with Reginald versus Knee Jerk Nice. And in somewhat of an upset, Reggie actually gets the win. Reggie rolls up Knee Jerk Nice in 8:50 to score the surprising victory in the first round of the tournament. 71 for Nice, 40 for Reggie. But yeah, nobody really saw that one coming. In a 58, the first match of Group F. I will go over all the groups, I've just realised now, because it's been so long, like, the break. Like, after next week's SmackDown, when I do all the first round of each group, I'll do a rundown of all the groups, if I didn't do bracketology, because I was lazy. And then the first match of Group F, Ashanti Adonis beats RKJ, Ricky Knight Jr., in 10:52 by submission. The perks of being delayed by real life mean that I was not lumped up and ended up lumping somebody who was originally planned. RKJ was not supposed to be in this tournament. This was supposed to be somebody else. But luckily, I held off recording for so long that I can now get away with not having that person in my tournament, and that person can get released. $73 main event. Santos and Humberto, two luchadors. Santos gets the win in 13:23 with a Phantom Driver. 70 for Escobar, 62 for Humberto. Pretty good. Humberto and Tozawa getting a big, tag title match in 48 hours, so that's what we saw on his mind. And a 72 rated Velocity is pretty fucking decent, I say. And yeah, that is the end. Finally, the end of the build. Finally, the next video will be the Raw branded, the first pay-per-view of Season 5. Backlash 2022. 60-minute Iron Woman main event. Cody Rhodes in action. Big E, Walter and Lashley for the world title. And a whole lot more. Hope to see you all then.